Almost 3 years ago, I graduated from one of the most prestigious graduate programs in the country, that being the Clinton School of Public Service, earning my master's degree in public service. Since graduating from the Clinton School, I've worked for 2 different employers, one being a law firm where I did some data analysis work, and I actually just parted ways from my most recent employer. As a disclaimer, nothing in this video will be in reference to my most recent employer that I parted ways with. Instead, I will be talking about experiences that I've had other times in my life throughout my professional career. This screenshot right here of a Twitter interaction saying, "What is the biggest lesson that employment has taught you?" with a response from someone saying, "Efficient workers got punished with more work," has went mega viral on YouTube. And by mega viral, I mean 307,000 likes. And to put that into perspective, according to ChatGPT, if you have 307,000 likes, that means your post reached in between 3 million and 30 million people. One of the biggest reasons I wanted to talk about this post is because it actually infuriated me reading it. I went to the comment section, and I don't know if I've ever in my life been in a comment section where you had thousands of people speaking about experiencing the same exact things from employers all across the country despite not even knowing each other. This is a problem. The second thing that really infuriated me about this post was that it's such a shame in 2025 that you can go into a YouTube comment section and get better life and professional advice than people are willing to give you in real life. And I'm reading all these comments and it literally blew me. I'm not even exaggerating. I read these comments for like 2 hours. I couldn't stop reading them because I felt like they were living my life, or they had been right beside me my entire time throughout my professional career. And when I say professional career, I'm talking about well before I even came into grad school. Back when I worked in the service industry, these comments are insane, and it's quite creepy how almost everybody experienced the same things from their employers. So I figured what I could do for this video, which every now and again I take a break from my conspiracy theories and my social commentary on trending topics in society and in the world and even politics, and just simply talk to you all as people, because one thing we all have in common is that we need oxygen, we need food, and we got to make a living for ourselves. So all of us at some point in time worked for somebody, started our own business, and had people working for us, something of that category. So what I would like to do is just simply, this will be a simple video. Anybody, especially those of you who are young in your career and you just found this channel for the first time, do not look at this video and see that it has 150 views and click off. This is a great video, I promise you, because this video will give you very, very great sound advice on the things to look for when you're searching for a job, the things to look for once you've been hired by an employer, the things that you should not tolerate, the things that you should not do to get yourself in trouble, the things that you should not do to be taken advantage of, all the signs to look out for to know if you're being taken advantage of, and the list goes on. So without further ado, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's take a look. HR is not there to protect you. They're there to protect the company. I've heard this several times before. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to simply read these comments, and all of this is going to be great professional advice, once again, for anybody who don't know this. And if any of these comments resonates with you, which I'm almost positive you're going to hear several things that resonate with you, hop in the comment section and let me know what you've experienced. And for every comment that I've either experienced or I know what it's like because I've heard about it, I'm not going to say anything. I'm only going to let you know if I read a comment that I have no clue what it's like to experience that. So if you don't hear me make any statements about any of these comments that I have not experienced, that means I've been through it before. Your bosses don't like being held to the same standard as you. I learned that standing up for yourself and not taking disrespect can cost your employment than actually doing something wrong that should cost you your employment. Wow, that has 10,000 likes, man. Never complain about work to coworkers. Do it to people you don't work with, because some people are more buddy-buddy with management than you realize. Never die for a company that won't show up to your funeral. Wow, man. That is one of the most powerful things I've ever heard. Reliable people get taken advantage of. I clock in, I do my job well, and when my shift is over, I'm a ghost. Your company won't remember your name a week after you're dead from overwork. However, do that day. Employees don't quit jobs. They quit management. 10% of the employees will do 90% of the work. Speaking as someone working in HR is not your friend. And once again, guys, the reason why I'm making a video about this is because it infuriates me that there are people that are already working in corporate or has already been there in life, been through that before, and they'll see that you're entering that same space, or people that are currently in that space, and they won't give you game. They won't put you on game. They won't tell you these things. They won't tell you that you will have people that you're supposed to report to that will quite literally lie or pretend like they're there to help you, and they're trying to make you feel good, but they're making you look bad to management, to both of you all's management. That's a real thing. Nobody tells you that. And that infuriates me. Why do I have to come to YouTube comment section? Why do you all have to come to a YouTube video to find out these things for the first time in your life? Completely unacceptable, man. Completely unacceptable. Bad employees are not held to the same standard as good workers. If a company says, quote, "We are a family here, run for the hills." Best quote I've heard is, "The only people that remember long days and overtime are your kids." Wow. Make sure work doesn't consume you. If you show them you can go 150%, they will expect 150% every day. Take every day off you earn. When you want to, take sick days, if you have paid sick days, and do not answer calls from your job on your day off. They will work you into the grave and replace you 2 weeks later. Wells Fargo left that poor deceased woman at her desk for days before anybody found her. Those two people who passed away in Amazon warehouses, where they track every step you take, laid there for hours before anybody from management called paramedics. They do not care about you. Go to work, put in your necessary hours, and no more. Get your money and go home to the people who actually care about you. Man, I wish I knew this 6 years ago, but I know now. Better late than never. You can have the greatest heart, but if the manager has a bad one, and the others around them too, don't bother impressing them. You'll get tired. A valuable life lesson that can be learned as early as middle school group projects. When I realized that I, the smart kid, kept getting coincidentally placed into groups with kids I knew were lazy and failing, I wrote a list of what everybody agreed to do and only did exactly my part. When the teacher came at me, I had the list ready and pointed out and explained only the things I was responsible for. It did not take long at all for them to start allowing me to work completely independently. Wow, I need to remember that. Always put yourself in a position that you can walk away from a job if you need to. Live below your means. Have a F this out fund if you're able. That I can say I've always done. But I mean, I've been through a lot in life, so I always try to keep some money to the side because you just never know what happens. My father once said, "A hardworking man will work himself out of a job." Wow. And for those of you who don't understand what that means, that simply means some of the hardest working people are normally the first ones to go because they're overworked. They are never satisfied. They rather constantly hire new people than treat you with respect. Do twice the work, but don't see a single extra dime. That's a very common thing. Single childless workers are harassed more. Man, that's a real thing. That's a real thing. An old African-American coworker I had years ago said to me once, "What do they give the best crap shovelers in the world? A bigger shovel and a higher stack of crap." Never forget that. Here's to you, your earnest. You can only be like SpongeBob for the first couple of months. After that, you become Squidward. You can't trust coworkers. So true. Years ago, I told my employer that I'd be taking a 10-minute break every hour or get paid extra to balance the smokers. She said, "But you don't smoke." I retorted, "That makes me healthier, less of a health insurance burden, and more productive." She said, "No." So I bought cigarettes, joined everyone for a break, lit the cigarette, and set it down as my timer. 3 months later, I got my raise. I'm surprised this person didn't say 3 months later they got fired. This reminds me, when I used to work in the service industry, I used to work at this restaurant, and I would notice, like, obviously the best workers would be called in to work the busy shift, the rush hour. And so I'd be one of the people working that shift, but I'd notice as soon as the rush hour would die over, most of the people on the line, they were smokers, they'd leave out to go smoke for 10, 15 minutes. And depending on how many shifts they'll work that way, that day, they'd end up taking like an extra 40 minutes that day of break time to 30, 40 minutes. And because I don't smoke, I've never smoked, I stay on the line doing work. So one day I asked my manager, let's just call him Greg. And I was like, "Hey Greg, I have a question. Whenever they take breaks, is it cool if whenever they come back, I sneak out and I go and take a 10, 15 minute break too?" And he was like, "But you don't smoke. They're out there because they need a smoke break." And I said, "Yeah, but I shouldn't have to pick up a bad habit, an unhealthy habit, in order to be able to take a break from work, bro. If they're able to do it, I shouldn't have to pick up a bad habit in order to get that same break time. I would like the same break. Or can I take a salad out there and take a quick snack break?" He was like, "Nah, it doesn't work like that." Okay, all right. Can I take a drink? Can I take a vodka cranberry outside and take a quick sip? Like, what are we saying here, bro? You're going to force me to smoke in order to be able to get the same privileges they get because they have a bad habit? That makes no sense. I say this all the time. Hard work leads to more work. People always say if you work hard, you'll get noticed and rewarded. This has never been true. It's an illusion that us peasants are led to believe. Wow. Always have a paper trail. I've learned that. The supervisor that treats you right is the supervisor that managers don't treat right. Wow. If you hear we're a family here, run. 2, don't devote your life to a company that will replace you in a heartbeat. Take care of you. 3, your coworkers are not your friends. Wow. Always take your vacation, days off no matter what. Never tell them what you're going to do. You are viable, or else they are going to call you, make you cancel your days, and later don't want to compensate you for it. A good boss is rare and worth their weight in gold. I like the meme of Heath Ledger's Joker saying, a lazy employee continues being lazy, and no one bats an eye. A hardworking employee takes it easy for one day, and suddenly everyone loses their mind. Wow, man. Smokers get more breaks and longer breaks. Parents take priority and get more off days. If you are a good worker, not only will you be expected to do more work, you will occasionally have to work outside of your job description too. If you're home, just don't ever answer your phone. Low key, this reminds me of how a lot of gifted kid programs in school just gave the kids more busy work to do since they breezed through the normal work too quickly. Formal education really raises workers first thinkers second. A 2-week notice isn't necessarily for a job you're never going to return to or use as a reference. They certainly won't give you a 2-week notice for termination or ask for you to return. That's true. Wow, somebody said what I said at the beginning. What I've learned is YouTube comments give better life advice than most parents. Wow. Never overperform and always work way less efficient than you could. This becomes the standard they expect from you. Chill and easier work days from there on after. Another lesson. If you don't have connections, you need 30 years of experience for unskilled labor position, and you're 20 years old. That's so real, bro. 22,000 likes. That's so real. It just makes no sense. That's another part of the reason why it takes people so long to get a job, bro. So I'm curious to see how long it's going to take me to find my next employer because I just don't get it. It's either you're overqualified or you're underqualified. And I've talked about that on this channel before. Not just work, but also any kind of family or social group. The worst thing you can become known as is the reliable one because everyone will start putting more and more on you just out of expectations and hate you when you eventually can't keep up with it. No one is your friend at work, not really. They never train you fully. This one deserves 1.5 million likes. This is at the top of the list, bro. And that's true, by the way, in multiple career fields. Always be the most average employee. The lazy ones get fired and the hard workers get exploited. Well, technically all workers get exploited, but you get my point. You're trading your labor to survive. Don't ever forget that. They own the businesses, so we serve them so we don't starve. But they live off our labor. They will take you and your hard work for granted 100% of the time. Managers may try to always get you on the phone because they are trying to avoid a paper trail. So if they tell you to do something on the phone and someone else asks you what you are doing, and you say, well, so-and-so manager told me to do this, they can lie and say they never said that. It happened to me too many times to count. Wow, man. Being approachable is not always a good thing. It makes management confident about giving you more work to do. I worked at a movie theater for years. When I started, they had me to do all the different positions to learn them. I hated doing concession. The theater would put their best, fastest workers in concession on the weekends, so I made sure to do just a good enough job at it to pass muster, but not be stuck in there on the weekends. Concession was by far the worst, most intense job there, and I knew if I did a good job at that, they'd work my ASS off for the same pay as somebody who cleaned theaters. Strategic slacking off. There's people way more equipped to manage the place than the ones that normally get chosen. In American society, this has been my experience. When I lived in Europe, efficiency is the norm and wasn't punished. I really loved that. All that team members and we are family BS is a lie. The manager, supervisor, CEO do not really care about you like a real family. They allow you to become passive aggressive, overwork you without pay or very little pay. I've experienced that. I've experienced having working with people giving me microaggressions and being passive aggressive. I've experienced that and tried to be professional about it because I know who I am to the core. I'm the type of person to address it, but I'm afraid to lose my job at the same time. So that's typically why people are quiet about it. Management takes things out of context without asking first. Your boss and your company don't remember or care about all of those extra hours, late nights, missed weekends, or time off. but your family does. Wow, man. I find there's a perfect happy medium between not taking your job too seriously and still respecting it. I'll feel crappy if I slack off, but I'll also feel crappy if I overwork myself. The key is to find that balance and stick to it, assuming your employers allow it, which a lot of times they don't. They purposely overwork people and you get very little to no compensation for it. Benefits can trap people in their jobs. Yes. For the sake of having health benefits and being able to simply build a 401k and the savings account, all that, this, that, and the third, because a lot of times it's not even just the salary. It's the benefits. People don't want to lose those benefits, so they're willing to put up with a lot of stuff that's really destroying their mental health, let alone their physical health in some cases. It's crazy what we'll do for these jobs, man. Benefits can trap people in their jobs more than any number of pizza parties ever will. I've seen people hate their jobs and be absolutely miserable, but when asked why they stay, they'll tell you they can't find benefits like the ones they have anywhere else. Wow. The nail that stands out gets hammered down, which once again speaks to if you're doing a really, really good job, you're going to be overworked and asked to do more for the same amount of pay. If a company says we're like a family, it will be an abusive one. Wow. It's not the employer that sets the expectations for your workload, performance, etc. It's you. I once had a job where I was always on time, but coworkers were 5-10 minutes late every single shift. One day there was traffic from an accident, so I clocked in 6 minutes late for the first time ever. I got written up for an infraction for it, but the people that arrived after me that day didn't. The superiors had higher standards for me based on the previous actions. Then in my next job, I had a lazy coworker that wasn't doing her duties. Because it made things harder for me, I ended up taking on a lot of her responsibilities myself and was basically doing the work of 2 employees. One day I was too busy, so I couldn't fulfill all of the extra duties. It's not my job in the first place, so I figured they would approach my coworker if it was an issue. They should be grateful I've even done what I have. But nope, it was held against me because I had created the expectation that I would do the task myself. Don't answer your phone. Develop a reputation as the guy who never answers the phone or responds to text. The second you seem available outside of work, they will try to squeeze every drop of your free time they can. When you're a good worker, they end up burning you out. It's better to do the bare minimum and just chill. I've learned that the hard way. A bachelor degree means nothing. Got my bachelor's in forensic science and wasn't able to find a job due to not having any work experience in the field despite having an internship under my belt. It's not exactly employment related, but it is still relevant if you're searching for a job. If you ask too many questions about your tasks due to lack of mentorship, be prepared to be treated like a burden. I can't say what I want to with that one. Oh my God, I can't say what I want. I 100% agree, but I'm gonna listen to my attorney and I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. That's so true. I felt that one. The working class is the largest social group to experience mass punishment. Never be afraid to put a supervisor or manager in their place. The running joke in my old job was that the place would crumble without me. A month later, and the supervisor and manager are at each other's throats, and everyone else is leaving. So yeah, always stand up for yourself. It's better to be lazy and talented than basic and hardworking nowadays. Boundaries are also appropriate for workspaces. Remember, HR stands for horrible resources. First, do not ever get emotionally invested, not to the job, not to your coworkers, not to the customer's client, not to anything related to the workspace, unless it is your honest to God passion. You are there to make money and nothing more. Second, I had worked retail for 13 years. The only thing you need to do in retail is gain a skill and immediately apply for something better. Retail is a meat grinder where both customers and management see you as disposable and inhuman. Third, fake it till you make it. Confidence, real or not, gets you anywhere, especially in interviews. The secret to staying employed somewhere for a very long time is to not stand out in any way whatsoever. Do not be indispensable. Do not be worthless. Be inconvenient to fire. Learn exactly how much effort you have to put in and then put in exactly that much and no more. Employers don't like it. Treat us better. Employers, you don't like it, treat us better. I'm not gonna make this one too long, so I'm gonna read one. I'm gonna read the last one off that I actually screenshotted yesterday. This comment says, "Wow, why do we all have the same experience with these jobs? My boss told me I was the hardest worker, and that if I worked even harder in 4 months, he'll give me a 50-cent raise. A 50-cent raise. Wow. I told him I was aiming to be supervisor so that I can get $2 more, so that I could afford to be on a lease and not be homeless ever again." I feel that. I begged him for months to have a supervisor at night because we had no leadership at night, meaning we were taken advantage of by employees. And at a certain point, I didn't even care if it was me. We just needed someone. After about 8 months of asking, I took a leave of absence, and he immediately made a terrible worker the supervisor. The reason he didn't have a supervisor was because he didn't want to pay for one, and it was me the whole time. I was doing the supervisor role without getting paid. That's crazy. Look, this video is going to be super long, but it's super beneficial. It's super helpful because, again, whether you have a college degree, whether you don't have a college degree, whether you have a high school diploma, whether you're working in the service industry, the trucking industry, you're working in corporate, right? You're starting your own business. These are valuable lessons to learn. Nonprofit, it doesn't matter. These are valuable lessons to learn because a lot of times what we don't do, when we go and apply for jobs, we're so focused on trying to impress them and show them that we're worthy that we don't do enough due diligence because we look at them as like, you're the ones with the money. I need to make money. I need to pay bills. I need to make a life for myself and my family. So I'm trying to get in the door. But a lot of times what we do in those moments is we overlook if they work for us. That's important. That's important because these employers know that. They know that. And a lot of times they'll lie to you in the interview process. They'll especially if they know they really want you, they'll paint this picture about the culture of the place. They'll paint this picture about the expectations and how things go and how they treat people. And then you get hired. And then you start working there. And then you start to see like, oh, it's a bit miserable here. It's not what I thought it was. It's not what you all told me it was. At that point, you've been hired. You have all these expectations placed upon you. So a lot of times employers don't feel like you have the balls or the courage to approach them. This comment section, y'all, and if I can, I'm going to include the link in the description. This comment section is the realest comment section I've ever crossed in my life because we need advice like this. We need people. And if you're somebody that's currently in a situation and you got somebody that's coming in the door, I understand it can be a tricky situation because you don't want it to get back to the employer that you're sharing things. But I would suggest make it a general thing. Help somebody. Just give somebody game about generally speaking when you're working for a new employer. You don't have to make it about the current employer. Tell them what to look out for. Tell them what not to take. That's very, very important. And that's what this video is right here. I'm making and I'm doing my part in sharing with the small platform I have. I want to reach, I don't even care if it's 100 people. Somebody's going to watch this video and feel this. They've been going through it for years, 30, 40 years. They've been going through it for 6 months. Or they're getting ready to step into that space. The point is, we got to look out for each other at some point. I'm not saying it's people's responsibility to look out for one another, but it would be nice if you was able to save a person the time, the headache, and the stress, and just give them game up front. Y'all up in the comment section, y'all give me y'all thoughts, man. I just thought I should give y'all, present a video like this because I try to do this every now and again, man. I'm Demetrius. I go by Didi. That's all for this one. Until next time. Peace.
Oh, yeah, Didi got a podcast.